Good evening. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the joint meetings of the Cotati City Council and the successor agency to the former Cotati Community Redevelopment Agency on this Tuesday, April 14th, 2015. This is our regular meeting, so we'll call this to order, and if we could do roll call, please. Councilmember DeLosso? Here. Councilmember Harvey? Here. Councilmember Landman?
Here.
Vice Mayor Moore?
Present.
Mayor Skillman? Here. All present. Thank you. And if you could all rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we'll move on to approval of the minutes and notice of waiving of reading of all resolutions and ordinances introduced and or adopted under this agenda. Do I have a motion? Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please let the record show that was a 5-0 vote in favor. Mayor Skillman, who seconded that, please? Councilmember DeLosso, thank you. I'm glad you asked because I didn't even know. All right, and then I'll ask if our housekeeping items could be read. Thank you. For the benefit of everyone in attendance, please observe the following. Silence electronic devices, including cell phones. Audience members are advised that the chamber and hallways carry sound, so please keep conversations to a minimum or conduct them outside the building. Photographs or video recordings using tripods or other means that would be distracting are to be taken only from the designated media area along the west wall of the chamber. Members of the public wishing to address the council are asked to complete a separate speaker card for each item. Speaker cards are located on the table outside, right inside the entrance to the chamber. Place the completed speaker card in the designated tray located by the city clerk, and when their name is called, speakers should come forward to the podium and direct their comments to the city council. Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Barrich.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council, staff. My name is George Barrich. I'm a former city councilman here in Cotati. And this is a very interesting item that comes up every council meeting. And if you notice at the top it says, for the benefit of everyone in attendance. And I'd like to say something about this for the benefit of the public and the council once again. For the last couple of years, I've been asking where these housekeeping items came from, because first they were housekeeping rules, and that's what they really are today, is they're rules, and they've sugar-coated them a little bit by saying housekeeping items, but the fact is, I don't have much of a problem with any of them. What I have a problem with, and I've been asking for 2 years and not got a sufficient answer, is about procedure and policy, because nobody can say where these rules came from. Evidently, they were conjured up from behind closed doors, in secret, out of public view. I've been coming to these meetings for years. I've served on the council. Normally, cities will bring items like this up before the public. They'll discuss them like real city leaders. They'll ask for city input. They'll decide between themselves and make a motion and vote on it, and it'll become part of the policy. This is what's done in most other cities across the nation, but not in Cotati. And it does concern me, because I've literally practically gotten on my hands and knees and begged this council if they would please consider doing it the right way and bringing this up on a future agenda and have a nice, healthy, open, transparent discussion about this. Allow the public to chime in on this, deliberate it, and then vote on it. Because I think that you're getting, you have your elected officials, your highly public figures. You should be doing things the right way, especially when we have children in the room. We have young adults who aspire to lead their communities, but you fail to give an answer where these rules came from, how they're going to be reevaluated from time to time, and I think you can do better. And I've always had faith that you can do better, that you can do things the right way. And most importantly, I'm concerned if you don't do this the right way, what else won't you do the right way? What else will be conjured up from behind closed doors without public input? So I again ask you, please put this on an agenda, and I know you can do it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there anybody else who'd like to make public comment on our housekeeping items? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment, and we'll move on to announcements. The City of Cotati has special open office hours on Monday evenings from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the Community Development Department at City Hall as part of its Cotati Open for Business program. This program provides personalized assistance and information to developers, current Cotati business owners, and those interested in starting a new business within the city. The Rohnert Park Cotati Regional Library hosts events for all ages, including art exhibits, book clubs, and children's programs. All events are free and open to the public. For more information, call the library at 584-9121 or visit sonomalibrary.org. The Cotati Historical Society Museum is open regularly the second Tuesday of each month from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., Saturdays from 1 to 4 p.m., and also by appointment. For more information, call 794-0304. Citizens interested in receiving City of Cotati community alerts via text or email are encouraged to sign up at Mixel.com. The month of April has been declared as National Distracted Driving Awareness Month. All California law enforcement agencies have been invited to participate, and the City of Cotati Police Department will be conducting distracted driving special enforcement on April 1st and April 15th. Please do not text and drive. It's not worth it. I also wanted to include that on May 7th, we have a joint event with the District Attorney's Office in the City of Cotati. We're going to have a town hall meeting on May 7th, and we will be having more details to follow, and I believe there'll be a press release soon as well. And lastly, I would like to hand off to Mr. Damien Ovid to make a few announcements about new employees.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So it's an exciting night tonight. We have some new employees with the city that we wanted to introduce to the council as well as the community here in the room. And I'll start with Darlene. Come on up to the podium. So Darlene Arend recently started with the city as a dispatcher, and she's currently in the police department communications training program, that's plain English for dispatcher training program. And she's scheduled to attend the 3 weeks of post-certified police dispatcher course starting at the end of the month. And Darlene is a Sonoma County native and attended the Santa Rosa JC and SSU and was close to completing an AA degree in history. So prior to working for the city, she worked, as I understand, as a dental technician. Yeah, which is a good background if there's a dental emergency in the police station. Given some of the snacks I've seen in the lunchroom, that's probably not a bad skill set. So, Darlene, please feel free to add anything to that you'd like.
I'm very happy to be working for the city. It's exciting for me, and I'm excited to serve the community. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So with us tonight, we also have Katie. With us tonight, we also have Katie Duran. Katie, come on up. So Katie Duran is our new admin analyst, and Katie came to us from Sonoma State University, where she worked in the humanities department, supporting the dean as an administrative manager, and then the assistant to the dean for a total of 14 years. Her experience includes a wide variety of work, including budget work, grants, analysis and research, liaison with internal and external parties, community engagement. She was the direct supervisor for all the employees in the humanities department. She has, as part of that, also health and safety training, and perhaps most importantly, she worked with Bob Coleman Sengor, so she has experience working with him as well. And then here at the city, she is in charge of human resources, safety programs, information, and a variety of citywide projects. And I also wanted to add that Katie does live right here in Cotati, and she has an 11-year-old daughter, Hannah, who's with her tonight, and also her 7-year-old son, Leo, who's also there with her. And Katie has quickly fit in with the team here, and we're very excited to have her with us. And
thank you, Damien. It's a pleasure to work here. I feel already at home. Tammy's been incredible, and I'm really excited about our future here together.
Great. Thank you for being here.
Great. Yeah. then finally, Alan Martin, who's behind me there. Alan is our new building official, taking over for, we had a contract building official with Sebastopol for some time. And so he's our new building official. He comes to us with a tremendous amount of industry experience in both the public and private sector. Alan worked for Sonoma County for 9 years as a building inspector, where he helped establish the county's green building ordinance. And he's also a licensed general contractor. He's certified in the building, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, ADA, and green building codes, and his areas of expertise include accessibility compliance and green building techniques such as straw bale construction. Alan lives in Cotati as well, and he has one son at home, a 13-year-old, Tyler. And we're also very excited to have Alan here with us today.
Thank you, Damien. And thank you very much. It's really exciting to work in here. It's kind of been a dream of mine to get a job in a smaller jurisdiction. I feel like it can be a lot more personal, and that's one thing I really pride myself on. Having been a contractor on the other side of the aisle, coming to getting permits, I had that respect for contractors, and I'd really try to go out my way and try to help people, and to help them resolve any problems they have. And it's, I want to say, it's just been a tremendous help. Everybody here has been incredibly helpful. It's taken on the new roles of building officials. I will say it's a little stressful. So, but everybody's been very, very accommodating, and I have high regards for all your staff. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, great. Well, welcome everybody. It's fantastic to see our numbers expanding. So I'll move on to proclamations. We have our first is recognizing April 2015 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I believe we have the Executive Director of Verity, Chris Castillo, here. So if you want, I'll briefly run through the whereases here, and then I will pass this over to you, and you can say a few words if you'd like. So there's a proclamation of the City of Council of the City of Cotati recognizing April 2015 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month is intended to draw attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and has a profound and lasting impact on every community member of Cotati. And whereas young people are at greatest risk of sexual violence, and the youth aged 12 to 17 are 2.5 times more likely to be raped or sexually assaulted. And whereas we must work together to educate our community about sexual violence prevention, supporting survivors, and speaking out against harmful attitudes and actions. And whereas with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, there is evidence that we can be successful in preventing sexual violence in the City of Cotati through increased education, awareness, and community involvement. And whereas the City of Cotati strongly supports the efforts of Verity and encourages every citizen to actively engage in public and private efforts to end sexual violence and include conversations about what sexual violence is, how to prevent it, how to help survivors connect with crucial counseling and other support services, and how every segment of our society can work together to better address sexual violence. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this 14th day of April 2015 that the City of Cotati designates the month of April 2015 to be Sexual Assault Awareness Month.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here with you tonight and for making this proclamation from the City of Cotati on behalf of those that have been victimized by sexual violence. This is Maricela, and she's one of our volunteers in the Prevention Department and goes to the different events and activities and talks about the work of Verity and informs youth and adults about what it is that we're doing. This is a critical month for us because it gives us an opportunity to really promote not only the work that we do, but to help people to become more aware of what happens when one is victimized by sexual violence, how their life has changed dramatically, the path that they have been on takes a very severe course, a very severe turn, and it takes a tremendous amount of people and collaborative efforts to support that person that's been victimized and their family and significant others in moving forward and reclaiming themselves from the perpetrator, from the people that have done these crimes to them. In Sonoma County, I'll speak specifically to Cotati. This is my third one today, and really happy that these proclamations are happening. But specifically in Cotati, we've worked very closely with your police department in the last several months and done a lot of collaborative work. that have resulted in really outstanding benefits for those that have been victimized. And I really appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that the chief and the lieutenant and all the members of the department are so dedicated and so committed to doing what's right for those that have been victimized and walking them through every step of the process. We have a Family Justice Center of Sonoma County that's co-located for services for those that have been victimized. So we have children that go to the Redwood Children's Center that's upstairs for their interviews and for their medical exams, and then for adults that have been victimized and for children and their families, there are other services that are located in one space for those that have been victimized, so they don't have to go all over the place to access services. The District Attorney's Office has been really amazing in their support of getting the cases, and those cases that are able to really be brought forward, bringing them forward, and making our community more aware of what happens. Human trafficking, sexual exploitation of children is a huge problem in our county. You're on the 101 corridor, and so we see a lot of it. We get a lot of calls, not so much from Cotati, but a little bit further south. And Rohnert Park is amazing in the work that they do, and then the collaborative work between all the different departments is really tremendous. And then Sonoma State University, because you have a college campus so close by, we have our staff on campus at least twice a month working, doing tabling, doing a lot of work to educate our youth and to help them to become more aware of the potential pitfalls that could happen for them, and making them know, helping them to know that there is an agency there available to support them through whatever trauma that they have experienced. So I invite you on April 29th. We're going to be showing a film for free. It's called The Hunting Ground, and it'll be Verity in conjunction with the Santa Rosa Police Department at the Finley Community Center at 7 p.m. It's an hour-and-a-half film, and it's about sexual violence on college campuses. There's another film that the District Attorney Jill Ravitch, and she'll probably talk to you about that. She's here tonight. And Supervisor Shirley Zane are sponsoring on May 6th, and I don't know the title of it. I'm so sorry, Jill. But she'll tell you all about it. And it's another one around college sexual violence. And so this is a big theme right now. This is a big topic. And the more that we as a community can get organized and can work to prevent sexual violence happening throughout our communities and throughout our county, that's what we're here for. So I really appreciate your proclamation and your support of those that have been victimized, and appreciate all of the work that you do as well for the City Council. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Here, I'll give you. Next, we have a proclamation proclaiming April 19th, 2015 through April 25th, 2015 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week in the City of Cotati. And we have District Attorney Jill Ravitch here this evening. So I'll read through this briefly. It's a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Cotati declaring April 19, 2015 through April 25th, 2015 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week in the City of Cotati. Whereas more than 26 million Americans are directly harmed by crime each year, and approximately 50% of violent crimes are never reported. And whereas many victims face challenges in finding appropriate services. And whereas the emotional, physical, psychological, and financial impact of crime falls on people of all ages and abilities, and of all economic, racial, and social backgrounds. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week is an opportune time to commit to ensuring that all victims of crimes are offered accessible and appropriate services in the aftermath of crime. And whereas the 2015 theme, Engaging Communities, Empowering Victims, presents the opportunity to highlight the diversity of our communities, expand partnerships to serve victims of crime, and empower crime victims as they pursue justice and recovery. And whereas the City of Cotati is dedicated to building partnerships with trusted sources of support, including community leaders, religious groups, schools, and other agencies to better reach and serve all victims of crime. Now therefore be it proclaimed on this 14th day of April 2015 that the City Council of the City of Cotati does hereby proclaim April 19 through April 25, 2015 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week in the City of Cotati.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Mayor Skillman, what an honor to appear in front of you and council members as well as other members of the city of Cotati. I think that you put it very well when you discussed the victimization, the number of victims that we serve here in Sonoma County, and how important it is to celebrate the fact that people move from victimization to survivorship to becoming thriving members in our community again. As you all are familiar, we have a Family Justice Center up in Santa Rosa. My friend and colleague Chris Castillo mentioned it. I hope that you'll all join us at this event that we're having on April 24th. I have a bunch of flyers here. Hope I can leave them with you and that everybody will come and spread the word to everybody that they know. It's essential that we reach the victims that are here in Sonoma County, offer them the services that they are entitled to, and give them the support that they need so that they can come out of the darkness, back into the light, and be thriving members of our community. And it's a real honor to follow my friend Chris Castillo up here tonight. I don't know, she didn't mention it tonight, but you know, she's going to be leaving us. That is public, right? And she really is leaving us. I heard she mention it this morning. This is an amazing advocate for victims, and I hope that you'll honor her when the time is right, as will every other venue in Sonoma County, because what this woman has done for victims of sexual violence is off the charts. So it's really an honor to work with Chris Castillo and other people here in Sonoma County to support our victims, to bring them back into the community in a way that they can thrive and give back to this wonderful place that we live. So thank you very much for recognizing this week.
Thank you.
Obviously.
And maybe you'll pass it out to your colleagues? Yes.
Absolutely.
We'll see you on May 7th. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, now we get to move to one of the more fun parts of our evening, the honorary mayor. We have Mia, my mouth isn't working tonight, so I apologize in advance. Mia Ponsetto of Thomas Page Academy. You want to come on up, Mia?
My name is Mia Ponsetto. I am 13 years old, and I live at 8945 Old Redwood Highway, just outside the city limits. I'm in 7th grade, and I attend Thomas Page Academy. Some of my interests include traveling, for example. At the end of the school year, I'm going to Washington, D.C. I also enjoy listening to music and drawing. I have started to think about my career and what I want to be after college. I am interested in being either a CSI or a cosmetologist. I want to become a CSI because I want to solve crimes, and with my aunt working for the courts, I hope she can help me get my start on that career. If I change my mind, I would like to become a cosmetologist because I would like to do hair and makeup for a living. I am also the granddaughter of Dave Hazelwood. He was a landscape architect and a Buddhist priest and a former planning commissioner of the city of Cotati. Some of my personal goals are to live a stress-free life because in November of last year I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. Stress and a poor diet can cause my disease to flare up. I am enjoying my time with family and attending school. Thank you for your time.
Fantastic. You did a really good job. I know I was telling you earlier, it's a little nerve-wracking, but you did a great job, so you should be very proud of yourself. All right, so I'm just going to go up and down here, and we're going to have a couple questions for you, and we'll talk about, but no pressure. Okay? All right, good. So, Councilmember Landon?
Well, I wish when I was your age I had been thinking that thoroughly and that deeply about not only college, but everything to do and how to have a good life. My congratulations to you. I particularly liked your comments on the importance of having a stress-free life. I think that's really great. So I have to ask you, tell me a little more about CSI. What got you interested in that? I'm going to guess television's involved a little bit here, but what aspect is it that you like about that?
I just want to help people, and also I had this book about investigating like murders and stuff, and I would like to help people if they got hurt by another person, I want to help them.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? It's a fascinating field. There's a wide realm of things there, and you talked about solving problems. There's all sorts of scientific, investigative, and different ways to pursue that, too. So I'm going to wish you good luck with that. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Delasso.
Mia, that was very impressive. How old were you again, 13?
Yes.
Wow, and you started thinking of your career. I'm 53, and I'm still thinking about my career, too. So that's good that you're ahead of the game. I also want you to know that I kept looking over at the chief of police here in Cotati when you were talking, and he was like taking all kinds of notes down. I think he's very interested, so be ready. Be ready. You may be getting a call. You sound like you're well on your way to having a very stress-free life, regardless of what you do for a career. So you're definitely on the right track. I'm very impressed. You had a great speech that you presented to us, so thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
All right, Vice Mayor Moore.
You did a very nice job on there. You were very calm and collective, and it didn't seem like you got too upset to agitate your condition. I think it's interesting that you said that your grandfather was on the Planning Commission, and he was a Buddhist priest, did you say?
Yes.
Well, I know that some of the philosophy that they take up, what helps with stress, so that might be something to consider on there. I do have a quick question I want to ask you, maybe to bring back on your next meeting when you come back. There were some questions that came up previously about the benefits to having an honorary mayor in a community. I think I know what some of the benefits are and what some of the participants receive out of those, but as a young 13-year-old being asked to stand in front of the council and some of the community members, I'm curious what you think about that, what that means to you, and if you think that's something that's fruitful that you can carry forward and maybe share with your peers. And it doesn't have to be anything formal, just, something to think about for when you come back in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
All right. See, I told you there'd be homework. All right, Councilmember Harvey.
Well, when you speak, your smile and your calming effect. So I think the whole stressful life thing, I think that you also portray that out to others. I just wanted to share that with you because it just was very calming the way you spoke and smiled. I'd like to hear a little bit about your travels. Where have you traveled? You said you like traveling.
I like to travel to San Diego to visit my cousins and aunts and uncles, and when I'm older I want to travel to Paris with my friends, and at the end of the year I'm going to Washington D.C. with some kids, and we're going to learn about the government and how it works, and and I would like to travel to Kansas to my grandpa's home is. I like to visit the area.
Well, thank you. The Washington, D.C. trip, I have 3 children, and so I've been on that trip 3 times, and it is really, truly an amazing trip. You'll be very, very busy. They get you up early in the morning, and they keep you going until way after the sun sets, but it is really worthwhile and really very interesting. So I think that you'll really enjoy that, and I wish you well.
Okay, and I want to give you an opportunity to turn the spotlight away from you onto anybody that you brought with you this evening that you'd like to introduce to us.
I brought my mom, my aunt, her roommate, and my teacher, Miss Sallier.
Very good. Okay. See how fun that is to make them the center of the attention for a second? Okay. Very good. So one of the things that we'd like to ask you when you come back, in addition to what Vice Mayor Moore was talking about, was also if you can talk to your friends about what kind of things they would like to see here in Cotati that we maybe don't have yet, or something that we have that we could maybe improve with some ideas that you guys would give us. So if you could think about that, talk to your friends, and when you come back next time, give us a quick report on what you've learned. We would really appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. You did a great job. Very well.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move on to approval of final agenda. Are there any changes on the agenda this evening?
There are no changes.
Okay. Then we'll move on to citizens' business. So I'll read this briefly, and then anybody who's got a speaker card, I'll get it passed up to me. Any member of the public wishing to speak to the council on any items listed on the consent calendar or any matters not listed on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda during this period. Comments of any member of the public are normally restricted to a total of 3 minutes in length per person for matters not on the agenda, and a total of 3 minutes per person in length for items on the consent calendar. So I'm going to look here. I've got Steve Marshall from the Cotati Lions Club, whom I recognize from my many years involved in Cub Scouts.
Madam Mayor, City Council, City staff, thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak this evening. The first thing I'd like to do is thank the City of Cotati for their wonderful support in our club and our activities that we do trying to help the citizens of Cotati and the surrounding area. I'd just like to give an update on what we are currently doing. We have 2 major events going on right now. We are preparing for our Mother's Day pancake breakfast here at the Scout Hut in Cotati. And of most importance to us, we are now undertaking a capital funding campaign for our Scout Hut or Lions Club building. And right now the major emphasis is on raising money for the roof. We are in hopes of putting a new roof on the building, and we'll be working with the city with that when we have the funds available. I do have some flyers here this evening in regards to the roof fund and also for the Mother's Day pancake breakfast. And again, for those of you who might not be aware of exactly what Lions do, we are, as Helen Keller put it, or charged us with being the Knights of the Blind. Our primary emphasis is helping people with their sight needs. One of the big things that we do here locally, and we get a tremendous amount of support, is recycling eyeglasses. For those of you who might have seen what looks like an old mailbox in front of our building here in Cotati, is actually our recycling receptacle for eyeglasses. And we do collect an immense amount of eyeglasses yearly that get recycled and put back to use. That, like I said, is one of the really close things in the community that we do. We also help provide for those in need of eye care by vision exams. We do, from time to time throughout the year, offer free exams for children and actually adults also, but we kind of put our emphasis on the children, and we'll be doing that at the upcoming Kids Day Parade event this year. Other than that, I just would like to say thank you again for all your support and help in our activities, for trying to make this community a little bit better for all of us. And if there are any questions, I'd be more than willing to try to answer them for you this evening.
I'm getting shakes of the head, but thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank
Appreciate you being
We
here.
appreciate it again.
I also have a card from Charles O'Neill.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Charles O'Neill. I'm also with the Lions Club. I am a district officer with District 4C2. I am a zone chairman, and I am responsible. I work with 4 other clubs within my zone, including the Cotati Lions Club. First of all, foremost, I am a Cotati Lion. But aside from that, the reason I am here is that Lions in California, Multiple District 4, sponsors every year a student speaker contest throughout the state. And the purpose of the contest is to provide an opportunity for competitive public speaking among students on the subject of vital interest to the contestants and to the American people as a whole, to stimulate self-expression and independent thinking, to present to the public through the Student Speakers Contest the problems surrounding the maintenance of this Commonwealth as a free nation, to consider the means at our disposal of meeting the present and future world problems. The Student Speaker Contest usually starts at the club level, and every year it goes from the club level to the zone level, and then goes to region, and then goes to our district, and then goes to the state. And these students that come from our local high schools can vie for up to $10,000 in scholarships if they win. So it's a great, great program. Well, this year, as the zone chair, was my first year that I got to host a student speaker contest. And it was kind of like, I have to do what? Oh, geez, how come nobody told me about this? So anyway, I was scrambling, literally. And we are supposed to have 3 timers and some people that record the scores, but we have to have 3 judges. And the judges cannot be Lions, nor can they be related to Lions. And I came here on a hope and a whim of trying to find judges for my zone speaker contest, and without hesitation, the members of this city council stepped forward and became judges for my student speaker contest. So I have for you, real quick, a certificate of appreciation for those people that stepped up and offered to help and did judge the contest. The certificate of appreciation, recognition of the cooperation and effort you have devoted to the 78th annual student speaker program of multiple District 4 Lions dedicated to helping the youth.
You're about to get dinged.
Uh-oh. Okay, anyway, California reached their potential as accomplished speakers. We do hereby commend Mayor Skillman, Vice Mayor Moore, Councilman Deloso, and Councilman Landman for being judges and acting and stepping up to the plate. So I will present these to you through the clerk. And Mark, yours is in a black frame because you had to bow out at the last minute. And but that was because of a good cause. But you stepped up, and I do appreciate it because you just didn't leave me hanging. You corralled the vice mayor into doing it. Thank you. So I'm going to present
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah, I thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, yeah, thank you.
All your names are on it. So thank you much.
Thank you.
Okay.
I've got another card from Jacob Smith. And see, ironically, I mentioned the Cub Scouts earlier, so that was perfect timing.
Cotati City Council. My name is Jacob Smith, and I'm a Boy Scout in Troop 101, and I live in Cotati. I'm currently at the rank of Life Scout, working for the rank of Eagle. Part of my rank advancement involves what is called an Eagle Project. This is a service project meant to benefit the community. For the past several months, I've been working with both Mark Landman and Damien Obid to put together a project that will result in the painting of the bandstand in La Plaza Park. On both May 2nd and 9th, volunteers and I will be prepping and painting the structure. I would like to invite those of the City Council to participate in this event, either on the 2nd, where we will be sanding and prepping, or the 9th, where we will be painting. Feel free to work for an hour, the whole day, or anywhere in between. Work will start around 8:30 a.m. both days, and will go until around 5 o'clock p.m. If you have any questions or would like to inform me of your attendance, I have my contact information here. Can I come up?
If you can give it to the Deputy Clerk, please. Thank you. Can you repeat the hours? I was writing them.
8:30 a.m. both days until 5 o'clock p.m.
Thank you.
And I thank you for your time and consideration. Good night.
Absolutely, thank you. Yes, Councilmember. Oh, May 2nd and May 9th, were those the dates? May 2nd for prep and May 9th for painting?
2nd and 9th, thank you.
Yeah. Here you go. And then I also have a card from Linda Richardson.
Good evening. My name is Linda Richardson. My husband and I purchased our first home here in Cotati 28 years ago. We love being Cotati residents, and I think one of the things we love the most is that even though Cotati continues to grow, it still keeps the small town charm, and that's something that we really love. I have a concern that has been a concern for a couple of years, and since I was here for something else, I thought I would just address it with the council. Cotati is very dark in the evening, downtown Cotati. And if you are driving through downtown Cotati, those lights are too low, and they just blind you rather than lighting up the street. We have a lot of crosswalks right there and a lot of activities going on. Now that a few more stores have opened, and they're opened later, there are people who don't always look before just darting across from one business to another. And unfortunately, they don't always use the crosswalks. And it's very scary because there's cars parked all along, so you can't visibly see them until they're right out in front of you. I know of somebody personally that was hit by a taxi cab and went over the hood of the taxi cab while in that downtown area. It's a concern of mine because I don't know what I'd do if it ever happened to me. And it could very easily, I mean, you don't have to be a distracted driver, you're going very slow and looking, but because those lights are so low, it doesn't really visibly light up the area. And like the new ones that are down at the Cotati train depot are much higher and the bulb is much brighter. So I just wanted to address it with you and see if there's something that could be done to hopefully get a better light so that possibly there isn't a tragedy in downtown Cotati. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I don't have any more. Yes, Mr. Barrich.
And thank you, Mayor, for allowing a little more time for the speakers. That's very gracious of you. I would like to speak about this young man, this Eagle Scout applicant, about doing some work in Cotati. I want to remind you that many city council members and volunteers have come forward with ideas on how to help the city and to volunteer, but the ideas have been quickly shot down by the city manager and the city council by stating the rationale as it's a liability to have members of the city council or members of the public be working on city property in any way, fashion, or form. We argued against this, but this was a strict policy by the city that they would not allow us to adopt a park, maintain a park, paint the curbs red. We came forward with lots of ideas, and they were shot down. How is it now that an Eagle Scout application gets special treatment, and how are we going to handle the liability issue? I'd like some answers to that. It's a very good idea, but you're going to have one standard for everybody and one policy, and you can't make it up as you go along, and you can't punish people or discourage people who happen to run against you during elections that they can't volunteer. It's not right. Secondly, the city council in years past, along with myself, spent many hours coming up with a Cotati vision statement. And that vision statement hung on the wall behind Mr. Deloso here for years. We spent thousands of dollars of staff time to put together a meaningful vision statement for the town that was voted on and was shared by everybody. It's been taken down. It's been down for months. And I've asked repeatedly, what happened to our vision statement? It is the cornerstone of what our town's purpose is, what we strive to do in city government. But somehow it's missing. And you're either making it up as you go along now, you didn't like what we produced for you, you didn't want to bring it back to the council, you didn't want to open it up back to the public again, maybe for them to weigh in on it. It's gone. And I'm pleading with you, let's have a little explanation. There's some reason where this vision statement went and what's going on with it. Lastly, a couple weeks ago at the City Council meeting, Prue Draper came up before you and was complaining that people who criticized City Council should move away. They don't deserve to be here. In fact, people who've come to criticize the City Council on a couple occasions, she's questioned that unless you live here in Cotati, work here in Cotati, you have no right to come before the City Council and ask about anything. As ridiculous as that is, I'm asking you, why don't you stand up for the citizens in this town and put people like Prue Draper in her place when she tells people like myself to move away if you have nothing good to say about Cotati? It's offensive. You are my elected officials. You're supposed to represent me too. You're supposed to be encouraging all these kids and the adults here to come to you and criticize and constructively, and you must discourage people from browbeating other citizens for doing exactly what you've asked us to do, Mayor, is to participate in the public process.
All right, you got right,
Thank you.
too. Thank you.
Thank you for the extra time.
Oh, you're so welcome. So, is there anybody else who would like to make comments during the citizens' business portion of the evening? All right, seeing none, I'll close citizens' business.
Madam Mayor, can I have just a second to address just a couple issues?
Absolutely.
In the, I think now 30 years that my wife and I have lived here in town, it's interesting because there's been a ton of volunteer opportunities that we've been involved in, not to mention all of the events, but I was just scribbling down really quickly, a tree planting at Putnam Park, all the equipment that's in Putnam Park, that was a big volunteer effort. We installed all of that one day. I've painted curbs red. I've painted the little fish logo that says, "Don't drain your oil down here," because it goes into the creek. So I think there's always been opportunities, at least the last 30 years that I can recollect that I've lived here. And for the last, it's at least 6, but maybe even 8 months, our vision statement is right there on that wall, has been there. There was a vision statement, I think, back here, and then I think when the painting took place, at least in this room and other rooms, I think it did get moved. But I did want to point out, if people are interested, the vision statement has been sitting over here for some time. So thanks.
All right. So we'll move. Yes, sorry, Councilmember Harvey.
Damien, on the lighting issue downtown, wasn't that part of the plan for changing the lights? I thought I remembered that those lights were going to be changed out as part of the new lighting plan.
Yes, yeah, there's a citywide lighting retrofit, and that's part of it. That's correct. Those lights will be changed with the newer LED type lights, which are what are in the train depot area. The poles in the train depot area are the same height as the downtown poles. The only difference is the lighting technology, but they'll be the same after the retrofit.
I thought I had not imagined that, but I wasn't sure.
Okay, thank you. And do we have any direction on future agenda items? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not seeing everything.
And just to wrap up on the issue, the thorny issue of volunteerism, we are all partial to Eagle Scouts. I know I am, at least most of us are partial to them. But the good news is you don't have to be one to help with this. So for council, but anyone else who's interested, I'm going to repeat those dates again. That was the 2nd and the 9th. Prep Day on the 2nd, and then Messy Day the 9th. Come on down and help, and everyone's invited. So that should be a good time. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any direction on future agenda items?
Yes.
Okay.
If I could.
Yes.
And I think I've brought this up before, so I just wanted to check in with staff. And it's been a pretty hot issue recently up in the city of Santa Rosa, too, and that's the smoking ordinance, especially with, you know, the duplexes and shared walls and shared HVAC systems and so on. Is there a timeline on the horizon? Because I think it's long overdue that we have some kind of a public discussion and decision from the council on this.
So it is on the advanced calendar for this fiscal year. Okay. In terms of prioritization, we have the DRC item, which we're hearing tonight, and then that was going to be the next thing that we'll tackle once the DRC decision.
Okay. And I don't need a date, I just was curious. So if it's on the agenda out there somewhere, that's what I'm concerned about. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Am I missing anybody else? Okay, good. All right, so we'll move on to consent calendar. We've got two items, two authorizing the acting city manager to award and execute a construction agreement, and three is approving the Anna Bonanza event on August 16th in La Plaza Park. So first, I will open it up to public comment on these two items. All right, seeing nobody wishing to speak, I will close public comment.
I'll move to approve items 2 and 3 on consent calendar.
Second.
Second that.
I would like to pull item 2, if I may.
Okay. I'll amend my motion to approve item 3 on the consent calendar.
And I'll amend my second.
All right, so,
You vote on 3 first? or-
yes, okay, I have a motion and a second on item 3. All those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, please have the record show there's a 5-0 vote in support of item 3, and then we'll move on to item 2, which has been pulled for discussion.
The reason I pulled number 2 is I had some questions in reference to the painting of the water tank over there. Being that way back in my youth, I used to do those types of things, and so I had a little bit of familiarity with that. So I was curious when they were talking about the wear and tear on the top of the tank due to the sun on there and then having to put a little bit more effort into that. Are they looking at, what are they looking at preparation on that top of that tank? Are they going to sandblast that down to the metal, or are they going to, are you familiar with that?
Yeah, so they specify so there's a SSPC prep method that they specify, and I believe that the top is to bare metal, as opposed to, there's some lesser levels of prep that typically would happen on the sidewalls where the painting's in better condition and still adhering to the steel better. So in the case of the top, in the top of the tanks, typically for a variety of reasons, tend to go first because of the direct exposure from the sun, as well as there's often sand or grit cast into the paint, so it's a non-slip surface, so people can walk on it without slipping off. Which, although that does a good job of keeping people from slipping it off, it also shortens the life of the paint, the coating system. So that was a much longer answer than I think than the question you asked.
Well, no, that was kind of really what I was interested in, because I was looking at the information on here, and I didn't have the specs there to look at. So that was really my concern. I wanted to make sure if we were going to go down right to the surface. So,
I believe so.
thank you. That was all I had on that one.
Okay. Any further questions or comments from other council members? All right. Seeing none, I will look for a motion.
I will make a motion that we authorize we approve number 2 on the consent calendar.
And I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please let the record show that was a 5-0 vote in support of item 2. I move on to public hearings. We have the item of Design Review Committee Ordinance Amendment, and I believe I'm looking to Ms. Vicki Barker.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. And good evening, council members. The item before you tonight is a proposed amendment to the municipal code, the section 2.19, chapter 2.19, which governs the composition of the Design Review Committee. And as you recall, when we went to appoint our new members or our replacement members last December, the council had a brief discussion about, at the time we were reappointing those members, staff advised the council that it had been difficult to fill a couple of the positions because of the composition requirements of the DRC. And so at that time, we had a brief discussion about options for amending the ordinance to possibly address that issue. And at the current time, the Design Review Committee is made up of 6 members. 2 of those are licensed architects. 1 is a person skilled in landscape design. And there are 2 at-large members and 1 member educated in energy or solar. And that last position was the one that has remained unfilled since December. So staff looked at the requirements, and I should also mention that a majority of the DRC members are required to be citizens of Cotati. So that blend of, in a small town like we have, that blend of finding the people who are licensed or skilled in those disciplines as well as citizens of Cotati has been a little challenging for us. So the amendment that's before you tonight increases the membership from 6 to 7 members. That's a little easier to manage as well from an administration standpoint because you don't end up with split votes. You eliminate the potential for split votes. 4 of the 7 would represent a quorum of the meeting. And what we did was add that 7th position. We expanded the skill set requirements for that position to be a person who can be any one of the following, and that is a building or landscape architect, a civil engineer, a building or site designer, building contractor, or landscape contractor. So expanding it to the trades, I think, gives us the experience and the knowledge base that we like to have, as well as a very practical way to check our conceptual designs, and should make it easier to fill the positions as they go forward. So our recommendation is as put forth tonight in the ordinance, and we would propose going forward that staff recruit for this open position, and we would then have 4 terms that expire in the odd years and 3 terms that expire in the even years. So we would recruit for that and bring you back the 2 vacant positions. And that concludes my staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Do we have any questions from council? No? None on this side? On this? Okay.
I do have a question.
Please feel free.
If I understand that correctly, if you have currently 4 members of the Design Review Commission that are citizens, as per the ordinance, and then you end up having one of the remaining 3 members of the trades, i.e. a building contractor, they wouldn't necessarily have to be a citizen, because you would have your makeup of the citizens?
That's true, yes.
Okay, interesting.
Yes, we do have, in the city, we do have, that I'm knowledgeable of, we have at least 1 licensed architect, but we struggle to fill that second one, so I think at least one of our licensed architect positions in the near term would always be an outside, someone living outside the area, but I think having a majority that are citizens, and especially the 2 at-large positions, really helps give us that skills and experience, as well as the community voice piece of it. So even though the contractor could be theoretically from outside, we'd always be managing that majority of residents. I think it can be a sound composition.
And I imagine the checks and balances on that would be, if the contractor had any business with the city, they would have to recuse themselves if something came forward that they were involved in.
Yes, absolutely. We do have that on occasion now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any follow-ups? Okay. Then I'll open it up to public comment. Would anybody like to comment on the Design Review Committee ordinance amendment? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment, and I will look for a motion.
I'd be happy to move that we introduce an ordinance amending the Cotati Municipal Code, Chapter 2.19, titled Design Review Committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, may the record reflect that that is a 5-0 vote in favor. Now move on to regular agenda, which involves the city manager employment contract. And I believe it's being presented by Tammy Taylor.
Very briefly, this item is employment agreement to employ Damien Obed as city manager He's currently employed as acting city manager and since December, and that agreement has been extended. And so this item is to authorize the signature of the mayor for this employment agreement with Damien Obid as city manager.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from council? Okay, fantastic. So I will open it up to citizen comment. Does anybody care to comment on the city manager employment contract item? All right, Mr. Barrich.
Thank you, Mayor. Some basic theoretical thoughts about the city manager's position. I think we do need a city manager who can remember sitting in this seat over here when Councilman Coleman on the record stated, "Mr. Barrich, unless the front doors of City Hall are being beaten down by volunteers, I'm not interested in volunteers from you or anybody else in this community."
Can we focus
But
on
none of the
Mr.
council
O?
members were up here at the time, but Mr. Obid remembers. That's the kind of city manager who we need. We need a city manager who will say, try to be consistent with the last city manager. Are we going to allow volunteers in Cotati? Are they a liability on city projects and city property? Are we going to get waivers of liability from volunteers or not? Or are we going to make it up as we go along? That's the kind of city manager we need, somebody who's going to lead and advise the council that, look, we got to follow some, we have a tradition here, we have policies in place, we can't be changing left and right depending on who's coming up and volunteering. We need a city manager who will not allow a police chief to threaten to arrest people for speaking up at a city council meeting and calling things as they are. And I'm hoping Mr. Obid will be that city manager, that he will be the boss and he will lead. We need a city manager who will say, after 5 or 6 times coming up here and asking, what happened to the Cotati vision statement? I'll get a little phone call and say, George, I heard you loud and clear. Who couldn't hear you loud and clear? But what we did is we made a nice little plaque, we reduced the size about 90%, and we put it on the side of the wall. And thank you for your interest. That's the kind of city manager that we need. We need a city manager who's going to say, what are we going to do with this Toyota Prius that we bought for the last city manager? I don't see that in the contract. What are we going to do with that car that we spent? We were paying Diane Thompson $223,000 a year. Divide that in how many days she came to work. It was $1,000 a day we paid that woman. Take away her vacations, take away her 3-day weekends. For the day she came to work, it was $1,000 a day we paid her. Now, we don't have Dave Williams with the Community Voice any longer. He quit. He couldn't take it anymore. But I would hope we need a city manager who will not spoon-feed the press with all these press releases to the Community Voice and telling the Community Voice what they must print in order to be in the good graces of the City Council, that we will buy advertising space for our public notices. That I hope from Mr. Obid.
All right, do we have anybody else who would like to make a public comment on our city manager employment contract? Yes, thank you.
I just came out, hi, Andre Morrow, citizen of Cotati, came out tonight to tell you, you guys did a great job. You made a terrific choice. Damien is a wonderful choice for city manager. I'm really proud of you for doing that. I think he's going to do a great job. And he's, speaking of volunteering, he's volunteered in the community with all the stuff, lots of stuff the chamber does. He's always there to help us out. And I just really appreciate him, and I applaud all of you for making a terrific choice. Thank you.
Thank you.
You haven't yet.
All right, anybody else want to make a public comment? All right, seeing none, I will close public comment, bring it back to council. And yes, we think it's a fantastic idea too. Thank you. All right, anybody wishing?
Oh, but we have not officially voted on anything yet, so thank you for your positive comments, but we're really close. really close. Yeah, I want to say just a couple of things. We started the recruitment process back in October, I think it was. None of these things move as fast as you want them to. But yes, in little old Cotati, we actually, if I recall, numbers are a little vague, but if I recall, we had about 45 applicants. It wasn't just even from the state of California, but outside the state as well. We brought it down to 7 candidates for interviews, and we all came down along with senior staff on a Saturday and interviewed all of those 7 candidates. And there were some very good candidates, certainly one that's, I guess, in the room here this evening, I could say that. But we had some very good candidates in there. And then we deliberated, and we met with staff. We had feedback from staff on how they felt on the candidates. We had our own feedback. And I just want to say, from a personal standpoint, it's been great to work with the senior staff and with the council on such a critical decision point for the city and for the citizens. And we're there tonight. We will hopefully be making a decision here in just a few minutes. So thanks.
Absolutely. Anybody else wishing to comment before I move on and ask for a vote? Yes, Councilmember Lehman.
We don't let you off the hook that easy. So there's probably a lot of things I could tell this community. I think the council knows them, but as far as the community, there's a lot of things I could tell you about Damien Obid. I think the volunteer aspect of how hard he works has been mentioned. I could mention how well regarded he is, not just in this community, but in the entire county. His previous employer, the Sonoma County Water Agency, every time I see them, they bemoan losing him. I think they're planning somehow trying to sneak and get him back somehow, which, trust me, we don't want to let that happen. But that gives you an idea. But if I wanted to share one thing with you, it tells you who this person is that works so hard for you in this community. A typical Damien Obid story that I've seen many times in projects we have, working with other agencies, be that Caltrans or other groups like that. There's obviously a lot of work to be done. A lot of emails are traded. Many times the emails they get from Damien Obid come in at 11:30 at night. This will come as no surprise to his family, I'm sure, in the audience. When I ask him sometimes and say, geez, I appreciate this, but he says, this is the time I have to do it. This is the person you've had working for you all these years here, and this is why I'm so pleased that he's stepping up to do this. I have complete faith in you. This may indicate which way my vote's likely to go tonight, I think. And lastly, I'm just going to close with all I tell you. At the rate you work for Cotati, your hair will look like mine very soon, so I hope it looks good on you, and I wish you the best. And thank you for everything, seriously, you've done for us and everything I know you'll continue to do in the future. I look forward to it.
All right. We good?
I do have
okay.
As John has said and as Mark has said, the candidates that came forward were amazing candidates. There were quite a few from a lot of different areas with a vast array of experience. I think that the process and going through this with Mr. Obid and the negotiating that's gone back and forth has led me to believe that there will not be very many stones unturned in this city. He's a formidable negotiator. I look forward to having that strength on the staff with the city, and I think it'll be a positive relationship, and I think it will go well for you, and I don't. It's unfortunately that we don't pay the previous city manager $230,000 because that's not going to happen. But I just kind of want to clarify that as well.
Yes, Councilmember.
Well, it was a very long and drawn-out process, and I had hoped that it would go much quicker, but I also want to thank my fellow council members for the teamwork that we had in doing that. We had a process, and we worked through it, and we talked through, the candidates, we talked through our issues. It was a very, very healthy and open. And yes, we had quite a lot of negotiations that went on past that, but I do believe that the city really has made an excellent choice, and we're already, even as acting city manager, we're already seeing things change and seeing things move forward, and I look for more of that, a lot more information, a lot more happening, and I'm really encouraged, and so I'm very excited.
Okay. Well, and I would echo all of that. I think we definitely got the best person for the job, and I'm very excited when I'm not tipping my hand or anything, just saying. So anyway, now that we've gone on a bit, I would like to see...
Well, let's find out. I'll make a motion. Let's just see where everybody's going with this, shall we? I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution approving an employment agreement with Damien Obid for the city manager services and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement.
And I'd be happy to second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. May the record please show that it was a 5-0 vote in favor of adopting this motion.
I'd say welcome.
So, Mayor, thank you for that, and council, thank you very much. I did want to say that my wife and my 2 daughters are here, Carrie and Claire and Jenna, and I'll probably sleep on the couch for pointing them out, but it's funny because my wife thinks that people with gray hair are wiser.
She's right.
So I've been trying everything I do to do the opposite. Most people are trying to keep their hair, brown or whatever. I'm trying to accelerate the gray if I can. So my wife pays more attention to what I say.
This will do it.
But I just really briefly did want to say that I am honored to serve the council and the citizens of Cotati. And it's a very exciting time in Cotati, and I look forward to helping the council achieve the community's vision and implement the city council's goals. So thank you very much for the trust.
Very good. And now, as your official role as city manager, would you please give your first official city manager with no saying the assistant or acting or any of that stuff? City manager report.
Yes, thank you. So I think as most people know, the Historical Society had their annual barbecue here last weekend. So that was very well attended and a great event. I also wanted to announce to everybody that the housing element update is underway, and there's going to be a workshop tomorrow here in City Hall at 6 p.m. It's a workshop to gather input on the draft housing element, and if people have interest or concerns about housing in Cotati, that's the time to express it. And then I also wanted to, as you all know, this month is Distracted Driver Awareness Month, and I'm told that we have 11 citations that have been issued so far this month for distracted driving or texting while driving. So if you have a cell phone and you're texting or have it up to your ear when you're driving, I'd recommend putting it down permanently, but definitely this month for sure. And then finally, I did want to say that the paving project is underway, as I'm sure a lot of people know. So thanks to Measure G, we kicked off citywide paving just this last week, and we are doing a lot of different areas, and I can just run through them real quick, but we're doing Maple Avenue, Gravenstein Way, Alstrom Circle, Gilbert Court, Gilbert Way, East Sierra Avenue, Chadwick, Forno Way, Issel Court, East School Street, Page Street, Woodland Hills, Dorfman, Clothier, Honor, Mendelssohn, Park, Skilling, Veranda, Eagle Drive, Aguirre, Court and Way, Flamingo, Hahn, Lark, and Locust. So those are all being either completely rehabbed or partially rehabbed, parts of the roadways rehabbed. And that's expected to go until mid-May, about May 15th. And work hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And the actual disruption in any particular area, it shouldn't be that long. It should be less than 5 days in any particular area, just by the way they're doing it. So that is it for the city manager's report. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question, if I could.
Okay, yes.
Just a question on the paving project, Damien, is will there be advance notice, like, let's say, a certain street's getting done, about, I'm assuming parking on the street could be a problem if they're trying to do paving, so will there be some advance notice to those residences?
Yes, so it's a combination of the construction area signs that will be going up in the areas that are getting maintenance work done, as well as flyers, physical flyers that are handed out to all the residents prior to the work starting. And then a day or two before the work actually happens, then the barricades go out with signs on them, like restricted parking signs. And the actual, like I said, the actual work would just be one day for the prep work, and then they'll leave the area for a while, and then they'll come back for another day to do some more work. And so the total shouldn't exceed more than 5 days, so it should be hopefully a minimal disruption for people.
Okay, great. Yes, Councilman Lane.
Just a quick question going to the paving project. Could we get a list of those streets emailed to us? I've had a couple of people ask for a list or a map, and there's interest in it, so I'd like to be able to share that.
Yeah, so the good news is that it's actually, it's on our website headline now. Yeah.
On the headline now? Good. That makes it a lot easier. Perfect. Thank
you. As well as the map.
Yes, and Vice Mayor Moore.
I just wanted to bring it back a minute to the city manager appointment process and what we went through. We ended up completely redoing our city manager contract in this whole process of selecting a new city manager. And I think that accolades need to go out and thank yous need to go out for our city attorney, Robin, who was very instrumental in keeping us on track and bringing this back to being able to select a good city manager. So.
I'll second that, even though it didn't really call for a second, I know. All right, so we'll move on to city, yes.
Regarding the city manager's report, the city manager's contract has been closed. That item has been closed. We should not be speaking about that item after it's been closed. We're only supposed to be speaking as the items that the city manager brought up. So having said that, I would like to bring up the fact about this paving project. What was introduced to us in the planning process is that there would be very little structural repairs done to the streets. Mostly these upgrades and repairs are cosmetic. Most of it is going to be slurry seal. You can go down the streets, you can see a few places where there are going to be pavement reconstruction areas where it's very bad, but for the most part, this is a Band-Aid on a lot of these streets. We've argued this in the past. There is no way that with these limited funds that these streets can be properly repaired to the level that they should be repaired with the funds that are available. The city engineer, Damien himself, had mentioned that. He's going to do the best that he can with the funds that he has available. And unfortunately, we had to use Measure G funds. Measure G funds were supposed to be for public safety and for some other things, and it's really too bad that the city of Cotati spent most of its money in the past and all of its reserves so that it did not have proper money to repair the streets properly. It is very sad that we had to raise sales taxes 1 whole cent per dollar, an obscene sales tax increase, to be using on the city streets. That's money, money for these streets should have been saved and allocated and capitalized for years. But the city council spent the money on capital improvements, on all their other highfalutin little projects, them feel-good projects for their consultants and their downtown-specific plans, and redoing this and redoing that and planning, where very little money actually went towards the reconstruction and the beautification in this town. It's very sad. It's a very sad tale. If you look at the budget numbers, I commend Mr. Obid for making lemonade out of lemons, and I commend him for doing what he can under such an inexperienced and fiscally irresponsible city council. But you have your task ahead of you, sir. And most of the citizens are not going to be fooled by the fact that most of the slurry seal, which is going to be like 80–90% of these jobs, is not going to go very far. If you're in the construction trades, you know that. And we will be back to fix these streets in short order.
Well, thank you for that. Is there anybody else who'd like to make public comment on the city manager's report items? All right, seeing none, I will close public comment. And just say personally, I think for safety reasons, I'd be happy that the police chief can get to my house if necessary without potholes in his way. And we'll move on to city council reports.
Sure.
Councilmember DeLasso.
Sure.
Just a few things in the last 3 weeks?
Unfortunately, yes, and but I don't want to be too repetitive, but I did not unfortunately bring my notes from the Sonoma County Ag and Open Space District meeting, which was a couple of nights after our last council meeting. But I think I mentioned at that meeting, that last council meeting, that we have an agricultural subcommittee now. So I am appointed to that. So now those meetings, instead of going from 5 to 7, they're from 4 to 7, which is great. But at least they're all together. But there's no new acquisitions to report out on from Ag and Open Space at this point in time. But the focus of the agricultural part, and there's a subcommittee of about 6 people now that are looking at the ag lands that have been bought, or in most cases they happen to be development rights that have been purchased. But they've all been leased back for some kind of an agricultural operation, and there's some work that it's just a concept, but under development off of Petaluma Hill Road, just north of Rohnert Park, where there might be what's called an incubator farm. And this would be an area where small plots would be leased out to, and in most cases it's probably going to be some kind of crop growing, but in a couple of areas there's some larger space set aside where grazing, for example, could occur. And all of this is being done when, like, right in the middle of it is a couple of vernal pools with California tiger salamanders. So we're going to show how you can have preservation of ag lands, continued ag use, and preservation of natural resources happening in one location. And these incubator farms it's kind of a starter, is how it's being described as a concept. So a starter for young folks that want to get into the ag business, and they'll be able to potentially, when we get to this, we'll figure it out, but be able to even maybe sell some crops from there and do kind of a farmer's market thing. So it's pretty exciting what's happening with that, and there'll be more information that comes out on that. And just the other thing, I guess, that I've been working on that the mayor did mention is that we've been working with the DA's office, the chief and I, for several months. And so on May 7th, which is a Thursday evening, and that's going to take place in the police department community room over here, we're going to have basically an open forum for the public. The chief will describe a little bit about police services that we offer our citizens here in Cotati, talk a bit about statistics and things that go on. Then the DA's office will talk just briefly about how they support our police department, and then open that up to the public and hear from different neighborhoods, what are you seeing out there, and whatever those issues are, we reconvene and try to figure out how do we best deal with those to try to remedy them. So this is something that's never happened in the county. This is a first, so Cotati is going to kind of pilot this, and other cities will hopefully eventually take it up. And there was a couple of other things, but I'm going to just forego those for now. So thank you.
Absolutely. Councilmember Harvey. So on April 6th, I attended the technical and water advisory committees, and the budget was approved, given the direction that I was given, as well as all the rest of the city. So that was done. And they also spoke, which more will come, that the water supply conditions and the temporary urgency change order have expired, and so they will be looking to reinstitute that this year, because even though there's water there in the reservoirs and they might be classified as normal, they still aren't what we really need, especially if certain events happen. So that will be coming shortly, is they will be filing another urgency change, which affects the flows downstream, right,
Damien? You're the technical guy. And then I attended, as did the whole council, the SMART ceremony on April 7th. And it was kind of really an awesome thing to have that happen in Cotati. They could have chosen anywhere along the line, but they chose us, and it was really pretty awesome. And I know a lot of work behind the scenes. Staff did a lot of work to make that happen, and it was a very nice event. So thank you for making Cotati look great.
All right, Councilor Linden.
Thank you, Mayor Skillman. Lindsay, I wanted to mention something I don't know. It's been in the press, but I don't know if we mentioned here about the Regional Climate Protection Authority. Recently attended an all-day adaptation conference event for them. And this was notable because it recognized something that's happened just this year with them, and that is that Sonoma County is one of only 16 recognized entities in this whole country that's been recognized by the White House Department of Energy as a climate champion. And that's simply because your county, the county that we live in, is kind of ahead of the march, if you will, in getting things done, preparing, dealing with things. And this is actually very good news. What it means is recognition for a job well done by a lot of people working on all our behalf. But it also means there's going to be much stronger support and stronger supportive funding to help us with those programs directly from the White House, because we've started ourselves. We've helped ourselves. We've got some work done. They like to see that. So I wanted to share that. I thought that was good news. And lastly, I should mention, for the Water Agency, actually, they recently made a big target, carbon-free energy. I think it was, 15 years ago, almost? Well over a decade, they set this target of getting this done by 2015, and they just made it over the goal line this year with a small assist from Sonoma Clean Power through the floating solar deal, something that's going to be very beneficial in terms of good cost for solar for all of us, a new technology that will probably go up and down the state too, but also helps the agency. So that's what I wanted to share this week.
Great, thank you. Vice Mayor Moore.
We had talked about the Redwood Empire Municipal Insurance Fund, which is a pool of cities that are comprised of, I believe, 13 different cities that pool their funds together for benefits and liability insurance and things like that. And they voted unanimously to go fully self-insured. So that will be implemented in July. The open enrollment period will be backed up to May 1st through the 30th. So that'll be a heads up for the new HR person on that one. And the projected savings on that in the next couple of years could be several $1 million. So that's very exciting. So, and that will be shared amongst all the participating cities. So, yes, it was a concept that came up a year and a half ago and has now come in to fruition for July 1st effective date. So.
Very good.
Oh, and then I wanted to say to Jacob, don't leave after the meeting. I want to chat with you a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, and then I'll just briefly run through, it felt like a really long stretch between meetings. So March 27th, I attended a Rotary dinner with our now City Manager Obid, and it was great to see a lot of Cotati citizens, business owners, as well as our police and fire folks getting the recognition and thank yous that they deserve for their jobs here. And so that was a really nice event to attend. I had a water bond conference call on April 2nd. April 7th, also attended the SMART event, which was great, although I did learn an important lesson, which is don't speak after a man wearing a kilt. That was a hard act to follow. Then on April 9th, we had our mayors and council members dinner at Healdsburg at an amazing restaurant, which I want to go back to. And then also on the 12th, the Historic Society's barbecue got to serve up some coleslaw to a whole lot of hungry citizens. So that was a lot of fun to be able to see people in a casual setting and really enjoy everybody's company. So that is my report. And so I will conclude and adjourn this meeting at 8:20. Yes?
I was just going to iterate one thing before you close the meeting, that there's been some concern that we haven't had cupcakes for a long time, and the budget couldn't afford it. And apparently we do have some.
I'm glad you put that as a future agenda item.
Thank you.
Before.
I'd like to be on record saying I approve of cupcake fairness.
All right. So We'll adjourn the meeting at 8:30 PM, and as we've all been eyeballing the treats, please feel free to share and enjoy and congratulate our new city manager.